Okay, cool. There we go. All right, last thing I need to do here is just get the Google Drive up. Let's see. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right, let's talk about the game plan for today. This is it, guys. It's the home stretch. This is the last time that we'll get together to work on things before the final project is due. So as I talked about with you guys last week, I have no demo or agenda specifically for you guys. I wanted to just keep this open to be able to answer questions that you guys have pertaining to really wherever you might be at with the final project. So we'll kind of be bouncing around, I guess, in terms of the different questions. Let's see. Basically what we can do is if you have questions, you can go ahead and upload your root folder to the Google Drive. Let's make a folder just specifically for today. Looks like some of you guys already put your folders in there, and that's cool. I'll move them for you here in a moment. Let's just do, so today would be what, week 15, right? Week 15 questions is what I'm going to go ahead and name the folder for today. And for those of you who's already submitted folders, I'll put them in there. There will be a folder, a part 8 folder that I will make for next week. In fact, I'll even make it now, just so it's there. New folder, so part 8. Final site. Okay. And that way that exists for whenever, whether it's, tomorrow or, next Tuesday, whenever you have that final site wrapped up, you can go ahead and submit that there. Just, I guess, to prep you guys for next week. Next week will be very, very straightforward. I doubt that we'll be together for the entire hour and 45 minutes. In that really you guys are just going to present your final projects, your final revised websites, very much an informal presentation. But I can set us up for where you guys can either share your screen or potentially I can open up your site and we'll just walk through and you guys will talk about how it all came together for you guys. But again, very, very straightforward. And today should be fairly straightforward as well. Again, the goal really is just to answer any questions that you guys might have with your root folder. So if you're at a point where you have questions that you'd like answered today, go ahead and put your root folder in the week 15 questions folder. I'll kind of run through these in order and we'll get those questions answered. Okay. Let's see here. Shoot, Jose, I think there was an issue that we had last week with your site. That we were unable to resolve, if I remember correctly. What was that again, Jose? Can you remind me?
Yeah, it was the footer, especially having that socials images at the bottom.
Oops, so Jose, if you're talking right now, I can't hear you. Let me just make sure I've got my audio turned up all the way. Yeah, I do.
How about now?
Yep, I can. Yep, definitely.
Yeah, it was the footer. It was the socials. The image somehow wouldn't center under the.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I remember that we had started working on that and ran into it was taking longer than I expected. My apologies, Jose, for not getting back to you. I don't know where my note. Yeah, I don't know where my little note went. I normally keep little stickies, Post-its inside my laptop during our class for next week, and that is long gone. Yeah, my apologies. We'll give that another look here this afternoon, Jose. And if not, I will absolutely make you a walkthrough on how to fix that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do have your folder here first and ready to go. Were there any other issues that you ran into at all other than the socials in the footer?
All I I see buttons pretty well. I managed to get that done.
Cool.
And the rest is just pretty much just putting in like the text.
Okay.
The only thing I just ran into was just like the form,
Mhm.
and that's just getting like something to move up its
Okay.
position.
Cool. Let me give this a download then, and we'll give that a look. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's see here, Jose. So for the form, is that on the contact us page?
Yeah,
Okay. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to also open up your contact and kind of see visually what we're talking about here.
yeah. The first line, first name and last name, are supposed to be like email and phone number right on top of each other.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, but I also want them on the same uh line, I guess I should say, both of them.
I see. So like first name, like on one line, kind of like phone number potentially.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Let's take a quick look. Like the very first thing that that I want to explore is looking at an example that works. Like on phone number, for example, you've got that one working. Let's see here. Oh, contact us. Do we have some code collapsed here? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. So yeah, right now, phone number looks like it has got a couple of classes there. You got one called P2, and you've got one called column 6. Then let's see, label phone. Okay, cool. And then there's the actual form underneath. Okay, cool. So let's see here. Oh, there's the names up there. Okay.
Yeah, I put them separately.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. Now, on a real site, Jose, that was actually had a form that was linked up to a PHP form processor, we would want this end closing form tag to go after down here. We wouldn't want to open up another one. A form, when we submit data, and I know we haven't talked about that in this class, it's not something we talk about until the Web 2 class, but the technically a form processor, PHP form processor, can only process the data from one form. Okay, not a big deal. It's not going to affect anything on this project because this is a form that's not hooked up to a server-side PHP script to actually work. But I'm just kind of throwing it out there for you to think about. But let's just take a look here real quick. So it looks like to me, like for example, here, hang on one second. Let's see. So phone number would be the one, like for example, that is working here. Let's take a look time here. So, okay, perfect. So you've got a container, and in it, you've got the two divs, which each hold their own form. Let's see here. So column 6, P2. Okay, cool. So you are reusing the P2 class on each of these. Let's take a look and see what that is.
Yeah.
On here. Okay, cool. So that literally just controls the actual font.
Yeah.
So next we've got column 1 versus column 6. So likely that's where the discrepancy is. Let's take a look at column 6. Let's take a look at column 1 and see what's going on there.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Column 1, very, very straightforward. Yes. Column 6 also fairly straightforward. One key difference being that there is a margin top here for that, but I don't necessarily think that that's the issue. Although, hang on.
Could possibly the container. I think they're separate containers. I'm not sure.
Let's take a look at that, because actually one thing that is potentially we want to address, column 1. Okay, so column 1 has got a width of 310 here. Let's do this real quick. Let's get a background color in there, see what it's actually doing here. Let's save that. Let me just make sure I'm in the right spot here. 6. Oh, okay. So actually column 6 is this guy. So no, column 1, that is what I'm looking for. Column 1. That's the one with our names in them. Okay, it's interesting that I changed the background color and that's not showing up. So that's one red flag right away that we want to investigate. So I'm just making sure I'm saving your style sheet one more time. I'll come back over, refreshing. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that style is communicating effectively here with the container. All right, let's take a look at a few things. Yeah, I want to make sure. Let's see if these are doing anything. I'm going to put a really large number in here. Just want to see if that's. Yeah, I don't think that style is actually communicating with the column 1. So let's just take a look at a few things. Oh, okay, I see. So, okay, when we stack up, we can't stack up classes like this. It will only read the very first one if we do that. What we have to do with this is something like this. This is how we add multiple classes. We can only end up using the class property once. Okay, so same thing here then as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and paste that here. And let's get, okay, good. I still have the red background in there. So that should now respond. There we go. Okay, cool. So let's see. So right now, these elements obviously are stacked up next to each other. Now we're getting that large height because of that height value that's in there. That's an easy thing to take out. That's just literally happening right here. Now on column 6, was there any kind of margins? Yeah, we'll put a small margin top like you're doing on column 6, just so that those elements, so it looks consistent with the rest. So saving this, let's give it one more try here. Okay, cool. Now, let's address the fact that these things are lining up like this. So this is likely happening because of the fact that things are flexed within this area here. So let's take a look. So because things are flexed because that's what's creating the 2 columns. Unfortunately, it's flexing potentially everything. Now there's a few ways that we can kind of work around this. Let me take a look at your HTML real quick. Yep. So here's what's going on right now is that this should be a fairly fast fix. So the container 1 is flexed. So these individual elements are all acting as columns then. This should be able to get fixed by taking the div that you're opening up right here and surrounding not only the text, but the form input area as well. It should be a matter of taking this div and ending the div after the form, the input form. There we go. For both of these, rather than leaving them as individual elements. Let's give that a save. Let's test that out. There we go. Cool. So now they're displaying on top of one another. Now it's just a matter then of getting the math taken care of to get these 2 columns to display correctly, because obviously there's an issue with that now. But we'll figure it out. So let's see. First thing I want to see is are these 2 things being styled the same? It looks like they are. P2, name, and column. So those are 3 styles that we're going to need to investigate real quick. So P2, name, and column. Let's see. Well, there's column 1. Let's see. Name. Let's look for name. Okay, Oh, okay, so name doesn't appear to be an actual style in here at this point. I don't see one for name. Okay, cool. So we might not even necessarily need that in the HTML. We might be able to take that name out. So really it's just P2 and column. Let's just look one more time at P2 then. P2. There we go. Yeah, P2 doesn't really seem to have anything there that would, I don't know, there's nothing there from a size standpoint that really is going to, excuse me, cause a problem. So I'm going to go back to column 1. So this is interesting because, like, your column 1 has a width of 310. So it's interesting actually that that second column is going way out here and getting crazy. It also looks like there's perhaps a margin left that we need to address. Or let's see, we have a margin top, a margin left. I'm just going to kind of play with some numbers. I want to see what kind of reaction that I get on this. Yeah, it would appear as if the style really is only communicating, at least the from a standpoint of these fields with this. Let's see. Let me see if there's another element somewhere here that might be influencing that. Just for example, I want to see how you are dealing with these. So column 6 is something that you're using consistently. I just want to kind of take a look and see what's going on with column 6. Okay, column 6 looks, it's standard stuff there. Okay, let's see. Well, there's definitely something here that is making that is, we've got something that changes over.
Is there a for element in the code that is different between the two?
Let's take a look, Kathy. Are you seeing something at all in there when I was jumping?
Well, I
back?
just wondered because in the first one there's a for equal, and then in the second one there's not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
I don't know if that makes a difference at all. I'm just saying I noticed the difference.
yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, I have a suggestion. Is he does he styling his container 1 with maybe a space? Because it's container 1 for the top ones, but it's container 3 for the bottom ones.
Let's see. Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Let's in fact, let's look at that as well. Those are two things that we can explore. Thanks. I appreciate the tips there, guys. So the first one I'm going to do real quick because it's just going to be easy. And that would be we could give it a 4. What this probably is not influencing it, in that this would be really for the form processor. So, in theory, we would want to put like an L name like here. I'm going to go ahead and use the F name though for right now, just to give that a look. But yeah, let's look at container 1. Thanks, Jen. That I think my focus has been more on these individual things, but almost certainly container 1 is got some kind of like a padding or possibly a margin. Let's look. Let's see. Actually, let's see in here. Boy, I was hoping for that one. Okay. I'm going to take this out for a moment. I want to see how it reacts in terms of this area here. Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so obviously it's not flexing that much. I was sort of expecting, but that's interesting. So, okay, so here's what we're going to do. There is definitely a line of code within this that is causing some issues. The height of auto is definitely something that we really don't need. Heights are automatically created by the content that is placed within them. So doing that can mess up some of the math. But clearly it's not the issue that's happening right here. Let's see, another thing I want to take a look at real quick. I still want to explore this stuff too as well. We'll look at that. But I also want to take a look then at what the container 1 would be in. Okay, so our center option there is obviously going to help us align this. Let's see. I don't think any of these other things are necessarily an issue. Let's see. Lastly, let's come on back down to column 1. So I did modify this. Let's work with a different number for a moment. So half of 960 is what is that, 480? Let's start there. I want to see if we can get both of these things to react, because so far it only seems to have influenced the width on the first of these form fields. And that's kind of, at least for me, at least that's the puzzling thing, because you can notice here that this thing is still stretching way out. And that's probably the weirdest thing for me right now. Let's take a look also at the tags, because what this implies is that this form field is not wrapped up inside of the div that it's holding, and it's just being allowed to expand exponentially. But I'm pretty confident that we had that. Let's see here. So tighten zoom out on the code a little bit. Okay, so our container opens and it closes here. This div opens, let's see. So we open div, open label tag, close label tag. Input only has an opening tag, so that's not an issue. So he closes right here, but you know, again, I'm not really necessarily seeing an issue here in that our div opens and our div closes, but this guy in particular is not acting like it's wrapped up inside of the container. That's what's kind of odd.
Could it be the input type, the text one? Because I just went online and deleted the width, and it sort of shortened it.
Let's take a look. I mean, let me take a look real quick. I don't think that is necessarily the issue, but let's see if you're running a style on that at all. Yep. Look at that. Yeah, the width here on that element is being set to 960. Let's see. I'm using that smaller value that we were using earlier, but actually let me do let's sync our numbers so I'm not having to remember which one is off. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. That's got that. That's the number that's influencing this element for sure. Okay, so potentially what we're going to want to do here then, Jose, is use a number smaller than 480 for these. And then we don't want to center the content in there per se, but rather what we can do is we can set up a left margin on this form element and bump it over, like, so for example, if you wanted a 20 pixel gutter in between these two, we would subtract 10 pixels off the width of each. Okay. And then we would bump this element over, this form element over by 20 pixels using a margin left of 20 pixels. Okay. So let's set that up real quick just so you have that as an example. The thing though that we want to be careful about though is now we've got two things that are controlling this. We've got the input area here, but then we've also got the container that we've got these things inside of, and we want to make sure that those are synced up. So let's see. So container 1, that's looking good. Column 1, okay. So these columns, let's just say we'll use, let's maybe do 20 off of each of those. No, I'm sorry. 20 off of each would be 460. The reason why I'm saying that 20 off of each, we've got two columns that are both called column 1. So if we'd reduce the size of that by 20 pixels, it's taking 20 off of each. Heading on back down to the input, Let's see, there it is right there, right? What was the input one? There we go. Yeah, I can also give that a width of 460. And then lastly, what we'd want to do potentially is bump over, actually, I would do that down here, I suppose. Do it with text one. We'll do a margin left. We'll say 40 pixels. Let's give that a look and see what it looks like. There we go. Okay. So shoot. So, okay, that's controlling both of these elements right here. So we would just want to give one an individual class that we could call
Okay.
out. So rather than doing that here, we could do that. For now, I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put an A on there for now, Jose, but if that's too generic of a name, please feel free to modify that how you'd like.
Oh,
And
that's fine.
do then is we can go in to the HTML. We can take a look at the second column here and add that A to the class name so that now this is controlling it, and that's got that margin left of the 40 pixels on it. Otherwise, the code is the same. There we go. Cool. And now we could also take out the red background that I've got on there also. But yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks guys for the tips there. Sometimes it's when you're jumping right into somebody else's site, it can be hard to think of some of that stuff when you're that far in the trenches. But yeah, hopefully that helps, Jose. And obviously
Yeah.
the first thing that we did. So if you need to go back and look at the recording, it'll be the,
Yeah.
the first bit. I am going to put a pin in the social icons on the bottom. And again, if we do end up having time after I've answered other questions, I would love to try and tackle that while we're all together. Otherwise, again, I will absolutely make you a walkthrough once I figure out what the deal is with that.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. All right. Cool. Let's see. Kyle, how about yourself? Any issues that you've run into at this point that you need some help with?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, awesome. That's fantastic. Obviously, if you do run into anything between now and next week when this is due, please reach out to me. Let's see. Why don't we give this a quick look? I'll give you, feedback from a visual standpoint if there's anything that I might recommend. Cool. So Kyle, just two thoughts here on this. I would add a margin left to your logo just to get that off of the edge. I mean, the S is quite literally touching the very edge there of the wrapper. So I would say whatever distance you're using in here with your link spacers, consider strongly adding a margin left on the logo to that to do that. I would probably also make the buttons larger. Modern web buttons are they're big, to compensate for the fact that a lot of folks really they're interacting with these websites on their phone, and it's very difficult for a finger to touch a default size button. Okay, so typically that's done. You can do it in a couple of different ways. You can immediately start with a height and a width. Okay, that's a great way to do it. You'll also want to style the borders. Okay, just using the same border code that we've used, in other instances, but without styled borders, what happens is we get the default web, like really cheesy bevel and emboss effect. Okay, so the way that you modify that is just putting a border on that. So back here, for example, get you your project here. So index style. Let's see where those buttons are. Okay. Cool. So just a button. There it is. Okay, cool. And you actually probably don't need to display the buttons from a flex standpoint because there's nothing really inside of them that will need to be flexed. But just so you can kind of see this for a moment, like if we were to put a width on that on your buttons, I don't know, I'm going to put a bigger width, probably bigger than you need, but let's just put like 200 in there. And let's do a border on that as well. So if you do border, there's a few properties for borders, guys, that we can use. Of course, we can first define it on the width. So let's just say, for example, I'm going to put a thick border on this. You can define the style. We'll go with solid. You can also do like there's dotted, there's dashed, but they tend to look a little bit cheesy on a button. And then you can actually add the color on there as well. So let's just say I'm going to mimic. Well, that actually might not work because that's going to go on a background of that. Let's see here. I'm just going to type in red for now. You can have an ugly red border around there, but it's okay just to kind of show you what this actually looks like. There we go. Cool. So if you want I would also add a height on there as well. But if you want the text inside of the buttons to center, we could just do a text align and set that to center. So it's all the same styles you guys are used to using for containers and things. Oh, no, it's actually not center. Interesting. It's weird. The top one is. Where are these not? We do have an ID for top button. Let's just see if that's being styled at all. Yeah, it is. It's interesting. I'm doing it. Oh, you know what? It's the flex is the thing that's actually causing the text not to center using the text align. So actually we can, since you are flexing that, it might be better just to set it to block, but we could probably do if we're using Flexbox code, we should be able to do, it's just justify content and setting that to center. Let's see if that works. Otherwise we'll do it the old school way, the way you're doing it down here. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So you can use Flexbox for that. But yeah, I would consider strongly also if you're going to put a width on there. I'm not saying it has to be 200 pixels, Kyle. That's probably a little bit bigger than it needs to be. But you can also put a height on those. I don't know. I'm going to put like 50 pixels in there for now, just as a test. If you want the text to center vertically, then let's see what is the Flexbox for that. I believe it's align content. And doing the center for that as well. That should make it happen. Nuts. Interesting. So that doesn't work on a button. I'll try one more quick thing here. See if I can get that to be controlled with a padding top. Just throw in 20 pixels as a quick test. Yeah, it does. Cool. So that's obviously too big of a number, but we can control the vertical alignment of it with a padding top. But I'm not going to tweak that number out fully because I would recommend then potentially the button doesn't have to be the size. Remember, it could be smaller. You can also control how big you make the type inside of it as well. So that's another thing. If you're going to go with a bigger button, definitely go with larger type that sits inside of it. But I still think this is probably a little bit on the large side. But hopefully, at least gives you an idea of how to, start controlling that and working with it. But other than the buttons, yeah, just bumping over the logo here. Let's see how the other pages are looking. Nice, cool. Does actually link out? They do. All right, real quick, guys. I want to talk about linking to an external site real quick. We want to add an attribute to this that will allow an external website to open up in a new tab. We never want to have a link that replaces somebody else's website, or replaces our website with somebody else's website. Okay. Because then the user either has to click the back button, or if they close the, the browser window, your website's gone from there. So it's a fairly fast thing to do here. This is the activities page. Yeah, very straightforward. I'll open up the activities page. We'll talk about that real quick. Because inevitably, I know a lot of you guys are linking out to other websites on this project. So what we would do here, let's see. Yeah, it looks like any of these will do. Okay, let's see. So this is happening. You're actually using some inline JavaScript to do this. So let's see. Okay. So normally this is just done with a little bit of script. It's called a target of an underscore blank, but it's not, I can't just plug that in with this particular JavaScript. Likely, let's see, let me see if this is being referenced anywhere. In the head. There, yeah, no, that's just another button. So there's a variable here called window, and that would need to be defined somewhere. That's what I was just looking for, is like where those things are. But let's just try something real quick. I'm gonna give this a quick 2-second test, and we'll see if it is truly inline. Let's see. That might work. It does cool. I'll explain what I just did. I'll do a quick Google search real quick, Kyle, for this particular, there we go, open new tab window. That's what I want to find. Yeah, so target of underscore blank is what we want, but it's not going to work. Well, this is the way that you would normally do it. I can tell already it's not going to work with that script. Clearly, this person's having the same issue. Let's see. Open. Cool, perfect. So it ends up being window dot open. Let me see though. I want to reference that one more time because I don't know if we still need location then at that point. Probably not. Still, this is actually a different structure than what we're doing. Yeah, this is kind of what I was expecting, was to see a variable defined somewhere where we're actually plugging that information in. All right, I'm going to just give this one more quick try. Otherwise, we can leave this. JavaScript is definitely outside of the scope of this class, but I want to see real quick. The underscore in that. Otherwise, actually, Kyle, I can show you a different way of just making the button up straight up blank. Yeah, just well, let's see if that works. So that was again inside the. Oh no, I didn't need blank. They've open. Let's see. Just try that on the Monterey one as well. I don't know if that footer button actually ever really worked. All right, I will, I'll see if I can, figure an option out for you. Otherwise, really, the buttons should just be able to get, well, not for a button that goes up to the top, actually. That's gonna work a little bit differently, but these buttons here, really, potentially, we should be able to just surround those buttons, with an A tag. This is my one last quick attempt at this. We're gonna see. Actually, let's do this just in case this doesn't work. I'll have to reassemble this. I'm gonna put a copy in here real quick and we will comment this out. Because in theory, you should just be able to put a link right around the button. Now, the only thing I don't remember is off the top of my head is if we do it outside of the button or inside of the button. I actually think we do it outside of the button. And this is where that target of underscore blank is used. That will open things up in a new tab or a window for us. Get that A tag out here. All right, so that's the very last button that I did that on. We're losing our windows. All right. Oh, I have a extra little bracket there. Shoot, let me get rid of that because that's going to cause a problem. Let's see. Yeah, awesome. So, yep, there we go. That worked. So, notice how when I click on the button now, it actually opens up in a whole new tab. Okay. So the way that you would do that, this is probably good for all of you guys to see if you're wondering how to link a button. So we don't really need the inline JavaScript on this. Kyle, you can just put an opening A tag in front of the button and a closing A tag after the closing tag of the button, and just do a link the way we've always done. And again, using that underscore blank of a target, that'll open things up. So that'd be a small thing I would recommend doing on any of the buttons that are going to open up an external page. Otherwise, I mean, if you have buttons that are just linking internally to your own website, you really don't necessarily need to change the JavaScript by any means. All right, cool. So consider that, Kyle. Otherwise, yeah, my only other suggestion would be again, bumping over that logo and just potentially styling those buttons, you know, bigger size, maybe bigger text, and then eliminating the border, probably just a white border actually to look really sharp on there, kind of mimicking you know, your logo rather than that hideous red one that I put on there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, let's see here. I'll put my window, so I'm just going to open up another Google Drive. There we go. Cool. Jillian, let's give yours a look next here. Jillian, any questions at all? That you learned in terms of like
Mostly in terms of buttons. I don't know if you remember. And I gave you a version without it just because just to see how it would work. I had buttons on my index that were on top of the images. And I know that we talked about making them transparent. So I just want to know how to go about that because on my screen, I didn't send it in. I put buttons, but they usually end like in the middle of the column, like they end right next to them, not on top of the
Oh, like
images.
right here.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, let's make one on one of these images for you. So what likely is happening is kind of similar to what we were just dealing with on Jose's on his form, where the text and the form fields were not nested correctly, and then they display next to each other instead of on top of one another. But let's give it a look real quick and see. Because actually, like thinking about this, the button can't really be nested in the image because the image only has one tag. So we're going to have to do some creative nesting inside of the individual containers, but it should be very doable. Let's take a look here and see. Style. Let's see here. On one of those images, it looks like here in container one, we've got an image that we can use. And that's where I'm going to put it. So I'm going to put a button here, right here. And let's see, I'm just going to type in there like an example for now. I don't know if that's like a label. Let's see. The free schools HTML button. Make sure I got my code correct to begin with. So this should put it next to it, kind of like what you were experiencing already. Let's see here. So let's actually put it underneath it. So at this point, we should be able to give it a class and then put it up and above the image and bring it over. Let's give that a shot here next. So let's give that button a class. Actually, no, we don't really need a class. I'll just call it the button itself. So the margin on the top, we'll use a negative value. I'll put in like 100. It's going to go up fairly, high into the image, but at least it's a starting point for us. Okay. So that image is definitely blocking it from going up. Let's see here. I'm going to try a few quick things here. I'm going to take a look at its display. Its display should be as a block item already, but I just want to see if it's not for some reason being treated as a block item. There we go. So it was not being treated as a block item. So that does get us to bring it up. Now, notice in doing so, though, that the button itself becomes transparent. So shoot. So the only way what's happening here is that background is being treated as a background color. And background colors will always get blocked out by an image. So really what has to happen, Galen, is that this image needs to be put into that container as a background image. Now, it's not hard to do, but if you're recycling a lot of your code, anytime that you want to have a button on top of an image, you're going to have to make a unique class for each one of these because each of those classes will have its own background image. Okay? Let me build you an example for one of these that you can reference. So we've got like column one, for example. Unfortunately, we won't be able to recycle those over and over again because each one will need a different background image. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to call this class column 1, referring to the fact that it belongs in container 1. And then if you were, this would be 2-1. This one would be 1-2. This one would be 2-2. So let's start with just getting that class built real fast. So I'm redefining that as 1-1. Now we're going to go ahead and put in the background image. Let's see here. Let's see, it's URL, quotes, and then we call out to that image. So that image is your cherry blossom image right here. So no longer does that image get applied in the HTML. I'm going to comment it out for now so that I'm not ripping apart all of your stuff. But surely you won't actually need that in there. Now let me copy the path to that image. So we need that here. I'm going to set its repeat value to no repeat. Let's see. Background repeat. There we go. I'm going to set it to no repeat. That way it does not tile. It only shows once. Let's get an idea of what that looks like. We may have to adjust the button and some things, but let's check it out. Something I didn't save. Let's see. Style. HTML, there we go. The HTML is not saved. Shoot. That made the whole line button go away. Right. I'm going to take the background image out. I just want to see if the button, like where the button is, without the image. Okay, it's right there. So my math is off. Oh yeah, okay. So me pushing it up 100 pixels is way too far now because there's actually there wouldn't be anything in that container. The image is defining the height and the width. Once we take that image out, there's nothing technically in there other than the button to define that. So I would actually need a height in here as well. For now, I'm going to go ahead and throw a 350 in there, seeing that's the same as your height. And then our button does not need to go up 100 pixels. Maybe it only needs to go up 10 pixels or something along those lines. Let's take a look. Let's see. Let's see. Let me grab this and pull it up so I don't have to keep scrolling so far. This one, you're going to notice in this P2, you'll have to add a dot in front of that. There is no P2 all by itself. Let's see. Okay, hang on. There's a bunch of references to column 1. No, there's column 1. Okay. So, Jalen, you got to be careful with this. You've got multiple instances where you're calling out to column 1. All of these future ones are overriding the old ones that you have here. Okay. So the very last instance of column 1 overrides all the others. That's what cascading means. The cascade in order. Hang tight real quick, guys. I'm getting a message that my battery's low. I need to plug in real quick. But we will, this will be continued in just a moment. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. Like even here, there's another column 1, another column 2. Those are definitely overriding every other instance of those columns. So you have to be careful about that.
Okay, I'll fix that. Probably messed that up somewhere.
Yeah, no worries. Not a biggie. All right, cool. So at least I got the button back in here now, and now I can at least see these two things. I'll probably still move the button afterwards, but I just want to kind of get things in place. For now, I'm going to put a background color into this div. I want to see that it's actually the correct height and width real quick. It is, good, good, okay, cool. And the button is showing up, so this is good as well. So actually that button is not going to have a negative value, but rather it will have a positive value, it looks like. Let's just try this out. Good, good, okay, cool. You got her now. All right, so, you know, it really depends on where you want that button to be, Jalen. Let's just say, for example, maybe I want it to be more towards the bottom. You know, I can do that to it. I can potentially, let's see if it'll center itself with a margin left and right that are set to auto. Otherwise, if not, we can figure out the math on it. Do it manually. Auto. Let's see if that does the trick. Yeah, awesome. That does work. Okay, cool. Lastly, then we would want to get the column 1 to actually get that background image back in place. Shoot, that's I copied it out of there. Let's see. So background. Images. Shoot. John, do you remember what that first image was? Was it cherry blossom?
Yeah, cherry blossom one.
Okay. Let's take a look and see. Oh, shoot, I'm working with the wrong darn container. Okay. Yep. All right. Right. That's going to be in the HTML. Yeah, I put. Huh. Interesting, it's showing up in that. Stop the presses. So it's showing up obviously in the container with the type here. So man, help me in your code to find that container with the type. I would think that that would have been column 2.
It should be
Okay.
column in container 1, column 1. So I don't know.
Okay. That's where the image was, right? Like that's where,
Yeah.
that's where the cherry blossom was. Currently, it's showing up for me in your container 2, column 1. Let's see why that might be the case. Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, that's my bad. I put that in the wrong container. There we go. Oh, there we go. All right, cool. Now, obviously, the button is unstyled at this point, right? So, all of the things I just did a moment ago, like in Kyle's site, we can use on this button. We can give it a height, we can give it a width, we can control the type inside of it, all those good things. But you can see here clearly that that is now at least positioned correctly. All the rest of it is just very basic stuff in terms of what we're doing to that button, you know, so we can give it a background color. If you want it semi-opaque, you can do all of that. I'm gonna make it red for right now. Color controls the color of the type inside of it. We can do all the rest of the same things, you know, font size. For pixel type. You can give it a font family, all of those things, right? We can give it a, you know, change the width, all of that stuff. This is not gonna be a very attractive button. It's gonna be a big red monster, but remember that we always want to style the border. Even if it means setting the border to 0, if you don't want to see a border at all. If we don't address the border, it's going to be the default ugly, clunky bevel and emboss. But that's something else that we can do. So if I wanted to, I can do border. Again, if you want no border, guys, on buttons, just set it to 0 pixel, like so. That gets rid of that. We can do other things if we want in terms of, you know, we can deal with padding. I'll do some shorthand padding here, starting at the top. So if I want maybe like, I don't know, 5 pixels of padding on the top, maybe 30 pixels on the right, 5 on the bottom, another 30 on the left. I don't have those elements. So whenever you're doing shorthand like this, think of a clock. It starts at the top and it goes clockwise. So this is top, this is right, this is bottom, this is left. Let's save that. There we go. Cool. So that starts to kind of get things, you know, again, it's still red and it's ugly, but you get the idea of where this could potentially go. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, let me pull this up one more time. I know I did a lot of jumping around, so just so you can see this in the actual recording, let me kind of set on this for a moment. So that was the code for the button that we put in place there. What I did was I made a column 1-1 so that we could target it specifically. What this really does is it puts the image in the background of the container. Okay? You will need to give it a height as well when you do that. Okay, the next step for you would be coming in here and then making this column, you know, column 2-1, and then ultimately coming back here. Really, I would just copy column 1-1. It's going to be identical, other than the background image that we're putting in. So instead of putting cherry blossom there, it's going to obviously it's going to be, you know, the next image. But that will end up happening for any of the images that you want a button to sit on top of. You don't have to do it for all of your images across the whole site, but anytime you want an image that has a button on it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I also had one other thing.
Sure.
So I had did H1 for like my titles, and
Sure.
I don't know if you remember, like each style on my page has a different color scheme in a sense. So is there a way for me to do a class for each one, or should I just make paragraph ones and such that?
Nope. You're going to do a style for each one. So remember how we added a class to the body?
Yeah.
Pages change the color of the body. You'll just do the same thing for each of your. I don't want that to open. We would just make a new class for each of those headers and then apply it. So if these are the things that you're controlling in H1, you could make a new class. You know, let's say, for example, you call H1, what's like the name of another page? So H1 nature, for example. That would have to start with a dot. And then you could change the color of it here, something else. And then on the nature page, so let's actually change the color of this and show you what this would look like. So again, I'm just going to default to red. It's quick, it's easy. I would then open up that nature page. And I would find the existing H1. There it is right there. And we would just give that a class of H1 nature, as I think they called it. Let's find that. Oh yeah, there it is. And it's a red glory. And then you can do that for each and every one of those pages again.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Let's see. All right, Kathy, how was your site coming together? Any technical questions at this point?
It's coming together well. If you could
Good.
just kind of look at it and just give me some, what you think style wise, how
Sure.
it's doing.
Okay. Sounds good. That logo definitely looks much better without the box. That's all looking good. Interesting that the buttons are getting larger on the rollover.
Yeah, I did that intentionally. Would you suggest I not do that?
I wouldn't, just because of how it's influencing the buttons around them. You notice how they all kind of jump.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I wouldn't go that route with these. Yeah, I mean, if you want a more dramatic reaction, Kathy, I would make
Uh-huh.
on the rollover. Like I like the text changing to white. What you can consider also is on the rollover making the background of the button whatever color the green is of the text. So all of a sudden that green becomes the background of the button, and the button color becomes white. Or the
Okay.
button text becomes white. Yeah. Cool. That's my little suggestion here. This page looks great. That's really strong typographical hierarchy. I like that a lot.
Oops, I think you missed you missed the about page, because that one actually had links on it there.
Gotcha. Give me a second. Let's see. Oh yeah, I totally missed that. Yeah.
Same thing. This time it went smaller.
Yeah, again, I would avoid that just because of the way that it
Okay.
modifies the content.
So no changing. That's fine. Yeah, okay.
Cool. Yeah, the page looks fantastic. Very nice. Nice. I love the large pictures. I love the typographical hierarchy. No suggest. Wow, that's a heck of a
Yeah.
what would you even call that? That's like a suspended walkway type of a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's got to be amazing. Have you ever been here?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Did you get an opportunity to actually see that, like that walkway?
No. We didn't. There's so much to do
Sure. Yeah.
that we didn't do that.
Awesome. These pictures. Cool. Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, boy, oh boy, Switzerland looks like one heck of a place to go spend some time. Cool.
And you can't click on the submit button, but I think you said that was okay
Yep, absolutely.
for now. Okay.
I think the only other suggestion, Kathy, is let's get the typefaces, the fonts, to be the same in all three of the text fields here.
Okay. All right.
An alternate one here. And okay. You know, I don't necessarily have I don't feel that strongly about this, but I would say, in my opinion, I would probably go with this font right here, because it almost kind of feels like an old school kind of like typewriter-ish font.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's a slightly lower, like it's not pure black, it's kind of a darker gray. There's a really easy difference when I look at this between, like, my brain can just quickly distinguish the difference between the label versus the type. I mean, I can here as well. It's just visually, they're almost the same size, same color. You know, this is just a little bit more of a quicker hierarchy for the brain to process. So a couple of insanely minor things, Kathy. It just looks wonderful all around. This will be a beautiful piece for you.
Thank you.
All right, Bella, let's give yours a look. Bella, any luck getting images and stuff into the site?
I did work on it and I did put in more images, but I've been sick this week, so I couldn't do as much as I wanted to.
Gotcha. I'm sorry to hear that. That stinks. Look,
But
are
I
you feeling any
mainly
better
got
now?
my images. Yeah, I feel better now.
Okay, good.
But I mainly got my images on the home page and then I think the Zunder page.
Okay. Cool. Obviously, though, one of the things you'll want to do is like, start taking the borders off of things.
Oh, right. Yeah. I left those in just because I was like confused on my spacing. So I just
Yeah.
needed to
No
finish
worries.
these.
I totally get it. That makes a lot of sense. Really nice job of doing the underline on these links. It's a nice touch.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, the images clearly look really nice and consistent. Looks like you added some alt tags as well, which is good to see. Cool. Socials look good down there. Cool. Yeah, I mean, even without all of the images in place here, Bella, I'm confident that you'll be able to plug those in pretty easily. You've already demonstrated not only in this website, but the previous one that you're capable of doing that. So it doesn't necessarily really look like there's, that you're needing to implement stuff that you just haven't really done before, I mean, you'll need to get the form elements in there, but they're remarkably easy to do. Even though you guys didn't do those in the first project. I don't know, do you have any questions at this point? Anything that you need help with?
No, not really.
Cool. Yeah, I would say just do what you need to do to get the content all in place. You've got the majority of it done. Just a matter, it looks like, of plugging in images and writing a few descriptions here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, let me know. Reach out to me if you need any help, or if you would just like, once you get your images in place, if you would like some feedback before you submit it to me, you can always zip your folder and send it my way. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Chaz, how about yourself? You were looking really good last week. I mean, it was essentially done. Do you have any questions at this point?
No, I think I'm pretty good. I mean, if you want to take a look at it, I added that form at the bottom of the home page. And then I'd resize the text on the height requirements for each ride.
Excellent.
But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. I just kind of did like a little enter to win type thing.
Sure. Cool. So it has one suggestion for you for the submit button. Rather than styling it in the exact same way as the form fields, we want to change something about it. Otherwise, it looks misleading. It looks like it's the same thing as the other thing. So it could be just simply, maybe making it blue like you have here with white text on top of it.
Okay.
Making it red or black or something that's different about it that designates it's a button. I would even go as far as changing like the height and width are deceiving as well. If you were to maybe make, I'm pointing at my screens if you can see me. Maybe making the width of it the width of all of the elements above it, so it's just a big submit button.
Okay.
Let's see. The other thing you can do is, obviously, that you can change the text by what you type there. We could put something that is a little bit more meaningful, like click to enter, or
Okay.
or just enter for your chance, that type of a thing. But yeah, that's my only suggestion here on the homepage. It really looks good. The form looks fantastic in terms of the way that you styled that content. Very nice. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yep. Having just that extra little tweak on the hierarchy there, I think really differentiates the the description of the ride versus the requirements.
Right.
Yeah, very nice. Cool. Man, I have not been to Cedar Points since becoming a parent. So looking at some of these rides that I would have never considered before suddenly look like an awful lot of fun. Cool. Let's see. That mine ride, I can't know if it was the mine ride or not. It looks like it is. Man, one of those rides though, last time I was there, really knocked my noggin around. I think I got a concussion last time I was at that at Cedar Point. Maybe it was the Maverick, I don't know. It was definitely one of those though. Jazz, you were just about done, sir. Go ahead and make that modification on the form, back this thing up in a couple locations, and congratulate yourself because it's a killer site.
Thank you.
I echo the same comment that I made with Kathy's, in that this is just going to make for a killer portfolio project for you.
Thank you.
Cool. Let's see. So, in terms of the projects that were submitted in the week 15 questions folder, that takes us through the end of those. But, if any of you guys have additional questions, please feel free to upload your RIP folder. I'd be happy to pop it open and give it a look. If there are no more questions, Jose, I'll return to yours and we'll give the social icons a look one more time. I can speak as well, I guess, in terms of what's going to happen next week. I think I did at the beginning of class, but it's worth maybe doing again. So next class will be pretty straightforward. There's no demos, there's no lessons or anything. It's just going to be a matter of you guys presenting your final projects to us. Again, you can do it either on your own computer, where I have you just share your screen and you can walk us through there, or I can certainly do it for you. And I'm happy to do it for you, but it oftentimes comes off a little bit better if you're presenting your own site. So for any of you who are willing to share your screen, I can set you guys up to do that when we get to it next week. I don't know, any other questions from any of you who did not submit a folder? And again, I don't need to have your folder for this week. There was nothing due. Just want to kind of clarify that as well. This was just for folks who had questions or wanted some feedback on the site. No. Okay, cool. Well, I'll tell you what then.
I had a question, sorry. For my site, I have like buttons on top of the image, but I can't quite put them. Like when I try to put the button, it like pushes it down at the bottom of the image. You can overlap it, I guess.
Sure.
So if I could get some help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Catherine, that's I had done that. I don't know. What did you guys say? Maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago when we were looking at Jalen's site. So
yeah, would that still work for mine?
It should. Let me take a look. If you would open up, if you would actually upload your folder to the week 15 folder, I'll look at your code and see if it's organized the same way. It should. It just depends, I guess, on how you have your setup, but potentially it could work for you. Yeah.
Okay, let me upload it. Sorry, it's taking a while to upload.
Yeah, no worries.
There you go.
Let's see, do a refresh here on my side. There we go. Let's see. So Catherine, on yours, where will the buttons be? You want them like overlaid on top of the images here?
It was at the bottom of the image,
Okay,
like right over it,
gotcha.
like at the bottom of the oval, but in the image.
Yeah, so it should, especially if you want to do it underneath and you want it just to come up and above the image, it will be really exactly what we did with Jalen. So I will, at the very least, I kind of give you, I'll talk about it within the context of your pages there. But you're going to want to potentially on these within the opening and closing div, the same div that holds the image. That's where you'd end up putting those buttons. So button type button. Example. That should put a button under it. In theory, so where is that button? Let's save that correctly. Let's see, something going on there. Let's see. Something code there. What's going on? Okay, that makes me feel better. It wasn't, oh, because I have a search here for a button. That's why that's slightly higher. Okay. All right, well, let's give that a look. It still doesn't necessarily explain why the button is not showing up. Because I do expect in the column over here to see a button. And we are not. So let's see. Let's style that thing a little bit, see where it is. Yeah, it doesn't like this. I'm gonna give it a large width and height just to see if I can get this thing on the page somewhere. Currently, it is not visible. Ah, there's weed in there. Okay. Wow. That's an interesting place for it to have populated. So let's see. Why is that the case? Let's look at the HTML. Okay, so there could be a number of things that are causing that. Could be any of these, could be content, could be container, could be column 2 perhaps. Let's see a few things with this. Let's put some text in there. Okay, we've got some digging to do here because this element, this button should be way up here. So let's take a look at what's happening in the CSS, see if we can figure this out. So let's start with its initial parent, which is column 2. So I'm going to go into the style. We're going to look for column 2.
I don't think the button is showing at all because I actually have a button at the bottom where my footer is, and I think that's the one that's getting affected by the
I see.
button.
Okay, cool. No, thank you. Okay, so yeah, then there's a few things going on here. Let's see. I'm going to start by making the image in here go away. And thank you for telling me that, because that really helps to not be trying to fix something that is not broke down there. So the image now, I'm having that go away. We're going to take a look at the see if test and if the button is showing up then in the place. Oh, there it is. Oh, I see. Okay, so you're doing a mask potentially on that container, or just rounding it. Okay, so at the very least, the button is there. So that's a start. Let's see. Next, let's look at what's happening with column 2. Let's come to page 2. Let's see. There's column 2. Yeah, cool. Shows your clipping path. All right. For a moment. Yeah, that might be an issue. Let's see. So now that we know that our buttons, let's get the height and the width off of those buttons. There we go. Okay, cool. So what that's saying here is that this container is here. It's in the top left. That's how things by default, at least, display. So let's do a few things. Let's make, for now, I'm going to make the, actually, let's make the container 1. I think that's what column 1, I should say. Let's make its background blue. Again, I want to be able to like see things a little bit more clearly. Oh, okay. Shoot, I'm in the wrong column. That's going to be column 2. Oh, let's see. Yeah, column 2 is where I should put that. I thought I put in container 1. Oh. Okay. So a couple things. Let's look at column 2. It should be pretty straightforward. There's not much code to that one. So yep, cool. That shows us kind of clearly where the container is. Let's, or at least the column, let's take a look then next at what you've got going on in the HTML, that being container 1. Let's address that next. Okay, cool. Container 1 is set to flex. We got a margin top of 50. All that's very, very straightforward. And this is good that you're flexing it. That's what's making these two things line up the way that they are. Let's Let's see here. The last thing that we'll look at real quick is content. But otherwise, we'll come back to looking at column 2. There's definitely going to be a challenge that we're going to have to deal with the clipping path, and I might just have you use a circular image to plug in there instead, because I know that we can treat them as a background image the way that I did earlier with Jalen's. Clipping masks, we may not have that same control over, but hang on, actually there was one more thing I want to look at. So content, let's just see what's going on with content. Margin top, 500. Okay, cool. So that all looks good. Let's see. In terms of the path, the clip path for column 2 is probably the same as what you were doing here for the other columns. I'm just going to go ahead and borrow that real quick. Okay, cool. So the button right now and the test text we're not seeing because they are getting clipped. Let's try first of all by just moving those over and down. We'll see if that gets us where we want to go. I suspect it probably will. So we're going to be looking at column 2. Let's go ahead and do, let's then hit up our button. Now, the button for that, we don't want to necessarily use this universal button because I'm going to position it, and I don't necessarily want your bottom button, the button down by the footer, to be affected by that. So let's just go ahead and call this, like, for now, I'm going to call it image button. Make that a class. And let's get that button up here to be called that. There we go. Cool. So now we can start to target this thing and push it around then. So, you know, potentially we can do the left, I'm sorry, the margin left and the margin right to center it, like we did earlier. That's going to be auto. And we'll do our margin right, and we will auto that as well. And then we're going to use a margin top to start pushing it down. Let's do like a 200 to start with. Yeah, okay. Shoot. Okay, I'm going to take the clipping mask off for just a moment. We'll see where it actually is. So it's definitely not centering. Yeah, in fact, doesn't look like it's centering or doing any of those things with the margins. So let's see. I'm going to grab that button and bring it up top so that we can work on those 2 chunks of code at the same time. Let's try a couple of things here. Let's get the button to display as a block element so that we'll actually listen to that centering and that margin. Oh, what the heck? Why is it? No, that's really strange. Okay. Talking. Oh. Which button? Let's just make sure this is named correctly. I think it is because it is showing up as red. Of course, all of our buttons are showing up as red. So here, before I make the assumption, because let's make this like green or something, just make sure that that works. I'm not entirely sure that this style is communicating with the button the way that I think that it is. Yep, so it's not. Okay, so that was helpful because at least I know that that chunk of code that I wrote is not actually communicating with this button. So $1 million question is, why is that the case?
It's the HT. You put a dot in front of it when you copy it and paste it.
Yeah,
Maybe that might make a difference.
totally. Yes, that class should not have a dot here. Absolutely. There we go. All right, cool. It's working now. We got control over it at the very least. Let's bring the clipping mask back in and we'll see. Now I don't suspect that just plugging in the image as normal is going to work because we ran into that on Jalen's as well. So from here on out, everything that I did in Jalen's will work on yours now that we've got the button under control, even if we use the clipping mask. But the issue that you're going to run into is if we just plug the image in using the HTML like we have here, that button's background will get covered up. Okay, so what we are going to have to do is we're going to need in column 2, we're going to want to give that a background image of that page 1 image 2. Okay, so let's see, we do have a couple of minutes of class time left, so let me see if I can bang this out here real quick for you. So this is going to go in then as a background image. Okay, so that's the background image. Let's just make sure that that is working, and then we can put the clipping mask back on it. No, let's see. 2-1. Oh, wait a minute. This actually already has the clipping. So I'm in the wrong thing right now, aren't I? Yep. We need to be working up here. My bad. All right. That's our guy right there. Okay, cool. So notice how it is repeating. We can turn that off. Background repeat. We'll set that to no repeat. Okay, that gets that going on. I will turn off the background color now. We don't need that any longer. And now we can actually get that clipping path back on there. And let's give it a look. Yay. All right, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. So obviously, you know, you can style the button using all those things that I did a few moments ago when we were looking at Jalen's project. And if you want it to go down further or up further, it's just a matter of modifying that, you know, that margin top value. All right, look at that. We snuck.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. We snuck that in with 1 minute to spare. All right, gang. So that's going to wrap things up here. As always, if you need anything from me between now and next week, reach out. You know, do please make sure that you, if you've got coding questions, zip up your folder, attach it. There was an email I got this morning actually with a coding question that didn't have the folder, so I wasn't able to answer that. But as long as you just zip up your folder, attach it, and send it over, I'm happy to dig in. You know, be productive this weekend. Most of you have got a really, really clear path, it looks like, from now to getting the site finished, which is fantastic. Jose, I will, I'll work a little bit this afternoon on those socials. If it ends up taking a while, you might not hear back from me until tomorrow, but I will absolutely make that happen for you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, again, guys, be productive, and I will get the meeting or the recording here published here shortly, so that you guys can follow the walkthroughs that I did there. All right, gang, have a fantastic week. I will see you all next time, and looking forward to seeing these final projects.
All right, have a good day.
All right, thank
Have a
you.
nice day.
Thank you.